House Bill 1934 by McCall of the House and Treat of the Senate, an act relating to students.
Leader Eccles, you're recognized to explain the adoption of Senate amendments.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. House Bill 1934 is a tax credit priority that came over from the Senate. It does have a cap of $150 million the first year, $200 the second, $250 million the third, and every year thereafter. I could talk about the insistence continue to call it a voucher when we know that's not true. Like, we're positive that's not true. A voucher takes money from public education. An ESA tax credit doesn't. So to be clear, we know that's not true. We know we're not talking about what we know we're not comparing it to what public schools do, because we know they don't do that. Mr. Speaker, one thing I do think we agree on is the necessity to couple this with something more for rural Oklahoma. And at the end of the day, there's been a lot of talk outside this building, a lot of talk inside this building. So let's just lay all the facts on the table before I make the school choice case. This body, by taking this vote, knows exactly what they're doing, and they are standing up for rural Oklahoma. I'm a Metro member from Oklahoma City, and this vote is about rural Oklahoma. The only divide inside this building right now is the issue of whether or not we are going to do anything for rural Oklahoma. Mr. Speaker, this bill that passed uncoupled from the Senate, uncoupled, did nothing special for rural Oklahoma, and this body, even by taking this vote, will continue to stand up and say, we know there has to be a trade. There's no secondary issue. See, we're getting caught up on what are the differences between the House tax credit and the Senate tax credit. What we're saying is, fine. You get the tax credit you want. We're saying, fine. You get your version. Now come to the table and start talking about what we're going to do for rural Oklahoma in exchange for it. Because that's what this body is doing. It is a single, solitary issue. And that's what this vote does today. What this vote does today is keeps it on one issue. Are we going to do something for rural Oklahoma? Because I would agree the majority of the tax dollars from a tax credit are going to go to urban Oklahoma. That's math. That's not hard. So why are we having such a hard time being the only chamber saying we've got to give rural Oklahoma something? As an urban member, 100% of my district is in Oklahoma City. 100%. And I will gladly vote yes and say, Senate, couple this thing with something for rural Oklahoma. And to be clear, every member that is voting yes, as they do, they go back home and say, couple this thing with something for rural Oklahoma. That's what it has to be. Instead, what we're heard is we don't want to talk anymore.
Declare the vote.
61 aye, 31 nay.
Having received a majority of votes elected to and constituted in the House, I declare the bill to pass. Speaker McCall, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to serve notice that on some future legislative date, I might like to reconsider the vote whereby House Bill 1934 passed.
Journal will so reflect.
For more information, you can visit TulsaWorld.com.